Hi and welcome to Tabletop Gaming. My name is Charlie and today we are taking a look at this. This is Fight the Blight, a card game that I'll give you some more details on in just a moment, and we'll take a first look. We'll have a look inside, see what there is, see how this sort of plays, what sort of expectations you can have from it, and see if it's one for you. Plus you'll notice there is our little expansion pack as well. We'll mention that at the end too, so stay tuned. But without further ado, let's take a first look at Fight the Blight. Now, this is a card game for 2 to 6 players, ages 13 and over, and takes around 15 to 30 minutes to play. It's actually designed by Blaine Simple, who you may recognise from D&D YouTube or YouTube in general, and it is from Ghostfire Gaming, so that's where you'll find them if you want your own copy, but I'll pop a link in the description anyway. Now, as your very quick overview of what this game is, it is a game of sort of fighting your friends, trying not to become a zombie, or if you do, trying to come back and just trying to survive the game. As an overview, you'll be trying to knock out your opponent by assigning them skulls, so assigning them attacks. Once they hit 6 skulls, they might turn into a zombie, but that's not completely the end. You can hit them another 6 times, and in that case, they are dead, but they can come for you. They will then head for the best player at the time, so the one with the most lives, and if they manage to zombify that opponent, they themselves come back to life, are revived from their zombie status. So there's plenty to chase around, there's plenty to take a look at, and a really cool way of marking that as well, making for quite a tight, across the table, ever-changing style game. But this is a first look, and we promise you a look at the components, so let's do that now. Now, in doing so with card games, we often give you a little bit more info than we would usually on a first look, simply because there is only so many cards in there and I want to show you the different types. Now, we begin of course with a rule book, as you would expect for a game of this nature. It is only an A4 folded, but it gives you an idea of sort of what it is that you're going to be doing, the differences between how you can play, and then your different card types as well. Luckily, you've got me for most of that, so bear with and I will fill you in. Now, you also have, quite unusually for a card game, a board. Wonderful. Now, this gives you your main deck, your death deck, and 2 discard piles as well. You will need both of those, but I will talk about the difference between the different decks as we go through, but they're quite visible. You'll see them quite easily. Now, first thing, let's talk about me, or at least my character. So, there are plenty of characters to choose from. These are your starters here, and all the way from the inventor to the psychic, there's plenty there, and each of those have their own sort of once per turn you can do this, so a little effect, which means it's not just picking a character out, it's picking the one that you think is going to be the best for you, or has the coolest ability that matches your style. But if you hit those 6 skulls, so if you are attacked 6 times, or for a total of 6 skulls, something bad happens, you become a zombie. So you're still you, but you're not out. You're now just a zombie. And now all of a sudden, you want brains. Those brains are always held by the character with the most health at the time. That character holds one of the greatest components I've seen in ages. I love this. The Golden Chalice. So, if you're storming your way through, you're doing amazingly. You've got all of your lives intact. Everyone around you is a zombie. You hold this, everyone is coming for you. It's a sort of King of the Hill style mechanic that makes it really, really fun, because you're constantly playing this game between, oh, I don't want to heal myself and do too well, because if I do that, everyone's going to be after me and there are far too many zombies for me to survive this. But come down a couple of pegs, somebody else suddenly gains the chalice. They're then the one the zombies are after. And I will just show you that again because I think it looks very, very cool. It's very funky. It's just a cute little sort of thimble-sized little chalice, which is quite cool for a card game. Card games, I feel, is too easy just to get a box of cards, and this one at least has a distinguishing feature that makes it quite fun. Now, there are then different types of cards, so we'll run through those now. I have separated these by colour, so we should make it a little bit easier to go through them. Now, we begin with Festering Cards. So these are dished out to every player. You've got your character card, everyone gets one of these. And what they are rewards for other players for zombifying you. So you can see why it's not an aggressive game in that sense, but you're very much trying to be like, you do this, and you do that, and you do this, and I'm coming for you, and oh no, wait, I'm changing my mind, I'm coming for you because you've got this. Brilliant. Now, my favourite of these is this one, which is Festering Energy, and what that does is that means you get an extra sort of move. So whenever an opponent zombifies you, they gain 1 action. So if I were to zombify someone with this card, I get an extra action, which means sometimes you can take out 2 people in one go, which is glorious. They're all of a similar irk, so if I were to do Festering Parasite, whenever an opponent zombifies you, they may discard a black card in front of a player, so that's a good thing as well. We'll move on to those different types of cards. Now, just because the back of the cards tell you quite a lot, I will show you that that is our green ones. These are our Festering Energy cards. And we'll move on to more of what you'll see in the main deck. Now, the main deck is made up of different colours of cards. I have separated them. Generally, you will keep them all together, shuffle them all together, and you don't know what you're going to draw as you do. Each of the main deck cards look like this on the back, although I will show you the exception, with these black eyes and sort of a spider skull-esque thing. Now, the different colours that you're primarily looking for, you've got the red, the purple, and the blue. And they represent different things. So if we were to begin with the red ones, which are probably our most common cards, and if I just look for one of the easy ones, which is a nibble. This one, you will see, has a little skull in the bottom, which means you can lay this in front of another player to take 1 skull from them. That will stay there, so you'll see the accumulation of how many skulls they've got at any one time. If they hit 6, they become a zombie. Marvellous, that's what we're aiming for. Now, there are other ones that give you sort of abilities. So Breach, for example, every player plays a red card with a skull from their hand in front of them. So it's not an ideal, but everyone goes down by 1. The stakes get higher as you go. And they're sort of your more attack-based cards. So the red ones, more for attacking. On the flip side, we have our blue health cards. So they give us a little bit more to play with, but less so in the way that you think, because you think I'm going to say this is like gain 1 skull back, right? Because that's what we would expect. Not necessarily. These are a little bit more complicated than that. If I just show you sort of what we're looking at as these ones. And options in those include sort of more mechanical changes and also things like you're healing other people rather than you. Now, why is that a benefit in any game but this one? Well, 2 reasons. First of all, if you're like my group, you immediately try to form some kind of alliance to get to the end to then only have to deal with one other person. That's an option. That makes for a fun extra component. However, it is also for the fact that the player with the least skulls, remember, is the target of all of the zombied players because they want to kill that player in order to come back themselves. So, awarding other people health, putting those people further ahead, means that you might be condemning them depending on how many zombies are in your group. See, it's a lot of push and pull. It's a bit of this and a little bit of this. So, for example, we have Remedy moves a red card from one player to in front of another player. So again, that allyship came in quite handy when I played this previously. We've got ones like Treatment, where it's going to ask you to discard 2 red cards in front of another player. That's quite significant. That's a big jump in this game. And yet, do you do it for allyship or do you do it to have them brutally murdered by the zombies? Who knows? And the last one I'll say about is just one of the slightly different ones is Transfusion, and that's just you tell 2 opponents to swap their hands. So it's less sort of medicinal in that sense, but is interesting tactic-wise because everything you've been saving or everything you've been trying to do, suddenly not going to work. Interesting. Now, the last kind of ones that you'll be happy to draw from the deck are purple. These ones are sort of more long-term effect style ones, and they stay with you and you utilise them. So, for example, Isolation means that red cards with 2 skulls in their ability cannot be used against you. That's really powerful because it means there's no sort of like aggressive uptick that means that you're going to lose lives quite suddenly. Storage, after a blue card has been played by an opponent, you can exhaust this card to add a blue card to your hand, which again is really, really helpful. Now, the last one we're going to lead on to the next thing, which is Hazmat Suit. Whenever a Blight card is drawn, you can exhaust this card to discard a red card in front of you. So again, ongoing effects that allow you to remove red cards that put you in a slightly better position than you may have been beforehand. However, they mentioned the Blight card, and the Blight card is the one that you don't want to draw from the deck. Said Blight card has a slightly different backing to it. This is why I showed you the backs of them, because these have white eyes rather than black eyes, and they are not great, I'll be honest, because what they mean is you're going to need to draw from the death deck. Now, that is the other deck that we maintain on our board. We have our main deck and our death deck, and it is the death deck that the more sort of dramatic turns, the big swings in the game come from. Now, the death deck the death deck giveth and taketh away, so it means there's going to be things that affect other people quite significantly, that you can do quite aggressive attacks very quickly, or horrendous ones on yourself. It all depends on what you draw, and of course you don't know what you're going to draw, so end up drawing a Blight card, pick up one of these and see where you end up. So the most common is Decay, and you'll see that immediately loses you 2 skulls, which is not ideal, and you play it immediately in front of yourself. So that's you gone for 2, and that's the majority of the deck. You've also got things like Melting Mind, where if you're a zombie you have to reveal your cards at all times. Lots of that nature. Now, that's not to say everything is bad, because we have Vulnerable, which allows you to play that same sort of 2 skull attack, but in front of somebody else. So that's a really good shout. And finally, the Cure discards every single red card in front of you. So that's the one you really want, but trying to get hold of that one, not so easy. Now, finally, in the box, we have some cards to help you with sort of turn structure, what happens when you're a zombie, how the mechanics work, just to keep things a little bit easier, so you haven't got to keep consulting the rules. You can always pop back to these. But it is worth saying, within the rules as well, there are some digital resources, things you can find online, so if you're struggling at all, you can always find those. Or, you know, rewatch this video. We'll give you a nice overview. Now, if that wasn't enough, I will just briefly touch on the expansion as well. So this is Dark Past versus Doomed Futures. And you'll see it is a smaller box than what we're dealing with at the moment, but has more than enough in. Now, the cards in here allow you to have 2 new settings. They also give you sort of more ways to play, which is really interesting, and adds in some new mechanics or new sort of commands that you won't have been able to use in the previous game because they didn't exist. Now they do. Now, player count remains the same, but with 81 new cards, this is one to keep an eye out for if you enjoy this, or you just want to get the whole experience in one. This just adds a little bit of difference, a little bit of something new into the game, and allows you to keep playing. So definitely worth checking out. Now, with both of those together, as I say, they're from Ghostfire Gaming. We will pop a link in the description so you can go and check those out. If you have any questions, be sure to let me know in the comments. It's been great spending this much time with you, and to spend more time, hit like and subscribe. Tell me what you thought of this video. I'd love to hear it, and do be sure to check out both Ghostfire Gaming and Tabletop Gaming at .co.uk, because that's where we keep all of our news, features, reviews, plus our monthly magazine, plus our mystery boxes, our advent calendar, our live show taking place in September. It's all very exciting. I can't wait to see you in person. So with all that, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and we'll speak to you soon.